Hello, in this video we're going to go over terminal output in Java. So I'm going to use the touch command from the terminal window to create a new file called output practice.java. I will click on the file to open it in the editor and start off with the usual required headers, which is this: public class output practice public static void main string args. All right, now that much will be in every program you write. All right. After that, it depends on what the program is supposed to accomplish as to what what sort of statements you put. But the statements start here. So the simplest kind of statement is an output statement. All right, and that looks like this: system.out.println is one form of it, and then in parentheses a message in double quotes of whatever you're trying to print. For example, greetings Earthlings. And because it's a statement, it has to be followed by a semicolon. And with that, we can compile and run the program and observe the behavior. The compile program is javac followed by the source code file that you're trying to compile. And if there's no output from the compiler, you'll see that a class file is created and added to your file tree. That's what you actually execute. The execute command is JAVA, Java, without the C, because you're not compiling now. And you just put the first part of the file name without .class or .java. And when it executes, whatever statements are in your program will execute. All right, so here we see greetings Earthlings. All right, so that's a basic form of output, and you can then output other sorts of things too. All right, so say system.out.println. Here's another line. All right, now because I made a change to the source code, I have to recompile. That's made very easy in a Linux terminal by using the up arrow. So I can use up arrow and go back through previous commands I might have given to get back to the one I want to repeat. And then do the same thing. Use the up arrow to go back to the Java command. And then there's the line. Notice that spacing in the source code, all right, does not have any impact on the output spacing, right? Just said print one line, and then I skipped a line in the program before I had another output statement, but I did not tell the program to skip a line in the output. All right, so the two lines appear with no space in between. If I want to skip a line, all right, there's a special combination of characters you can put at the beginning, \n. Right? And that's not actually going to print, but what it's going to do is cause a line ending to be inserted before it's the second line appears. So we're going to recompile that and re-execute. And now there's a blank line in between because of that \n at the beginning there. There are other forms of the output statement. One of those is just print. Print, and Here's a third line. See how that works. So recompile, because whenever you make a change in the source code, you have to recompile to see the effect of those changes. And now the statement appears, but the system prompt comes back in on the same line. And so when we see the difference here, print line will automatically put a line ending at the end of the output. Print does not. So whatever comes out next in the terminal picks up right where the previous output left off. Okay, so we can see that a little better here. If I now say print line, this is on the same line. And see, here's a third line. This is on the same line. Notice that there's nothing that indicates that there's supposed to be a space between these, and so there isn't one. Right? If you want to space out separate outputs, you have to put a space into your statement exactly where you want it to appear. Right? So if I'm going to use a print command rather than a print line, I will often put a space at the end so that the next output doesn't crash into it. All right, we'll see that looks like here. All right, so now there's a space because I put one in the statement. All right, you can output more than just string literals. All right, string literal being something that's enclosed in double quotes like this, right? So that's because I started and ended with double quotes. Right, that indicates that the whole thing there is called a string literal. String literals. Right. Other things you can output are numbers. For example, 31 days in January. And it prints exactly what you'd expect. Now, floating point numbers, or numbers with a decimal portion, will often have some number of decimal places that's controlled by the default settings on the system. For example, let's say 0.3. So in this case, we didn't get any extra output there, but suppose I want to print the result of a division. I want to print 1/3. 1.0 divided by 3.0. Oh, and I have a typo here. I have a typo, and the compile command gave me an error. So you're going to see this kind of thing a lot. You want to get used to that. You're being told here the name of the file and the line number where the mistake occurred. In this case, line 13. And there's a caret right at the beginning of the symbol where the typo is. Right? And then it repeats it right here, and it says cannot find method printle. Well, it's because I spelled it wrong. It's not printl, it's print line. So you try it again. And now, okay, so I didn't necessarily ask for all those decimal places. The system is just giving it to me by default. Right. This particular value here within the parentheses is known as an expression. Right, so it's not literally going to, obviously, you see it doesn't print 1.0/3.0. If you wanted to print that literally, I'd have to put quotes around it. Right? So what happens when there's not quotes, the runtime system evaluates the expression and prints the result. So if I wanted to print it literally, I'd have to do something like this. System.out.println 1.0 divided by 3.0. And notice that the Codio editor puts it in a different color to alert you to the fact that something's different is going on. So when we compile that, right, if you want to print an expression literally, you have to enclose it in quotes and print it as a string literal. So we'll go into a little bit more detail in the next video on this. That's all for now.